Welcome to Comic Power. I am your host, Comic Killer 72. This segment today is called Wicked Wednesday. If you didn't know, Wednesday is the new release for new comics that come out every week. These are my recommendations for the best books to pick up on Wednesday. I will also name one book to be the speculation pick of the week. I made this video before Election Day, and by the time you see this, one of these people will be our 45th president. But seriously, didn't your choices feel like you were picking between one of these? What is your lesser of two evils? But this channel is about comics, not politics, so let's get started. First up, DC is giving us All-Star Batman #4. Scott Snyder is writing this, and John Romita Jr. is drawing it, so you can't go wrong. Next up is Deathstroke #6, and this is written by Christopher Priest, who made his name on Black Panther in the late 90s. Priest has a great mix of action and psychological thrills, which makes this a great read. Next up is Action Comics number 967. This is a good jumping on point because it's the first issue of a new story arc called Men of Steel, and Supes seems to be working with Lex Luthor and not against him. So I'm curious to see where this goes. When DC rebooted with Rebirth, they relaunched and rebooted all of their titles back to issue #1, except for Action Comics and Detective. They have big plans on issue 1000 for both of them. That's quite an awesome milestone to think that these books have been published continuously since the 1930s. DC is on pace to release issue 1000 of both around early 2018, and it will be a big deal. Next up is Mother Panic #1. This character is a female vigilante anti-hero and takes place in Gotham right along Batman. She isn't a thief like Catwoman, and she's not associated with the Dark Knight like Batgirl. She's got her own armor, her own agenda, and her own tools and gadgets like a hovercraft. This is a brand new character, by the way. She was first introduced in a preview in this SDCC Young Animal release. The grading companies like CGC normally do not refer to previews as a first appearance, so Mother Panic #1 will probably be considered the first appearance of Mother Panic, aka Violet Page. So this is definitely worth picking up to see if it catches on, especially this Batman variant shown here. I'm predicting that retailers will under order this and it will go to a second print. Next up, let's see what Marvel is up to. First up is Black Panther, World of Wakanda #1. Due to his well-received appearance in Captain America Civil War, the Black Panther has gone from a C-list cult favorite up to a strong B+ character almost overnight. This art is done by a black female artist, Afua Richardson. She's mad talented and she loves cosplay, so she's alright with me. There's a ton of variants for this #1, but this Brian Stelfreeze one is my favorite. If you're a fan of the action figure variants, of course they're giving that to you as well. Marvel is owned by Disney, and they are greedy corporate overlords that want every last penny, having you buy multiple copies of the same book just to get a new cool cover. Next up is The Clone Conspiracy #1, which is going to a second printing. This is the first part of a 5-issue miniseries, and this Gabriel Del Otto artwork looks amazing. Issue #2 also drops this week, so be sure to pick that up. I think it's a no-brainer. Next up is Star Wars The Force Awakens #6. This is strictly an adaptation from the movie to a comic book format, so no surprises whatsoever, but it looks damn good. Next up is the speculation pick of the week, and that's going to be Invincible Iron Man Volume 4 #1. And this is Marvel's breakout star of 2016, Riri Williams, headlining her own comic title. She is the new Iron Man, and her moniker is Iron Heart. For those of you who haven't been paying attention, here's a little context. She's a 15-year-old African-American female from the rough streets of Chicago, but with a genius intellect which sends her to MIT, which is the exact same school that Tony Stark went to. While there, she decides to re-engineer one of Tony Stark's armor using used parts. This is depicted in her first appearance in Invincible Iron Man Volume 3 #7. As you might expect, this first appearance issue is hot and going up in value. She shows up again in issue #9 and goes on her first mission, and this is what her armor looks like. Riri is a Brian Michael Bendis creation, the same writer who created Jessica Jones and Miles Morales, so he's got a hot hand right now. Riri's title does come with some controversy. Jason Scott Campbell, one of the most famous artists in the comic industry, was commissioned to do an art cover, and he's known for drawing very sexy characters, so he produced this image, and there was a big outcry because there was a lot of people that felt that the character was being too sexualized to be just 15 years old. But this is what Jason Scott Campbell does. If you look at his whole body of work, this is what he produces. So it shouldn't have been a surprise that he put this together. So anyway, he went back to the drawing board and he produced this image for a new variant and pulled the release from the previous one, although a few already got out there. So here we are. This character's already got intense buzz and cosplay. That's when you know a character has made it. I dig the curly fro. My favorite cover is probably going to be the hip hop hop cover, which pays homage to Missy Elliott's 2002 Under Construction album. Isn't my channel amazing? I not only give you the new comics that's coming out, but I give you origins, comic book history, and hip hop history as well. Next up is our report on independent comics and small publishers. First up is Betty and Veronica #2 from Archie Comics. This series is not only drawn by Adam Hughes, but is written by him too, showing that he can write as well. Issue #1 dropped back in July and it has one of the best covers I've ever seen. It was a big hit and sold 70,000 copies, which is a lot for an indie. Issue #2 is going to come with a lot of variants like the one you see right here, but you should just go ahead and go with the regular cover. It looks fine. Next up is Batman TMNT Adventures #1 from IDW Comics. They're teaming up the Dark Knight and the Turtles again, but this time it's going to be in the Batman Adventures universe. It's the same universe that introduced us to Harley Quinn back in 1993. I'm not saying this Turtles mashup with Batman is going to be worth as much as this, but it's a no-brainer pickup. Next up is Namesake #1 from Boom Studios. This is a tale of alchemy and time travel and sorcery. That's a very ambitious premise, and I really like how the cover looks, so I'll be picking this up. This is issue 1 of a 4-part miniseries. Next up is Mega Princess #1, also from Boom Studios. This is probably the best all-ages book to pick up this week. It's the story of a 10-year-old girl named Maxine, whose fairy godmother grants her the gifts of every fairy tale princess. But she doesn't want to be your typical princess. She wants to be a detective. So it's a cool story telling little girls they can be anything they want to be. That's really, really cool. Next up is Violent Love #1 from Image Comics. Is this story, this Bonnie and Clyde recycled again? Yeah, it probably is, but it's going to be a lot of fun keeping up with it. It also has this cool looking variant, which is going to be an homage to the B movies of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. Next up is Green Valley #2. This is written by Max Landis, who's the son of famed director John Landis, and Max has built his name up in comics by writing Superman, American Alien. Issue #1 of Green Valley is also going to a second print. Next up is Guerrian #2 from Scout Comics. This is the same publisher that put out Hench Girl to wide acclaim, and they're trying to duplicate that. This is the story of a lowly factory worker who becomes a warrior to fight against a dark entity that has invaded his planet. Due to the low print run and the potential, I advise you to pick up Guerrian #1 as well. It couldn't hurt, and you should be able to find it for about $5 to $6 on eBay. Before we close, let's see what Valiant is up to, and that's going to be 4001 AD War Mother #1, which is going to a second print. This story is similar to Furiosa in the Mad Max universe. She's a woman who's fighting for a tribe and limited resources against other tribes in a dystopian future, and her sidekick is an artificial intelligence, a gun that actually talks to her. But trust me, it works. I highly advise you to pick this up. It's an amazing read, and it ties in perfectly with Valiant's 4001 AD crossover starring Rai from summer 2016. Next up is Faith #2, which is also going to a second printing. This character has been a surprise hit for Valiant, so she was upgraded from a mini-series to an ongoing series. Next up is Generation Zero #1, and it too is going to a second print. It's a story of superpowered teens on the run that help out other teens if you can find them. So think of it as New Mutants meets the A-Team. That's about it for today. Thank you for watching Wicked Wednesday, where I review all the new comic books for a new comic day. Be sure to follow my blog at comicpower.net. On social media, follow me at facebook.com/comicpower.net and comicpower-universe.tumblr.com. And don't forget twitter.com/comicpowersub. I also sell comics on eBay at this link. This is Comic Killer 72 for Comic Power saying bye-bye. Don't forget to share this video, click on subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and tell everyone you know about this channel to help it grow. Thank you for your support.